This video is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends. More on that later. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. You guys have been asking for this for way too long. I cannot tell you how many people have asked us to drive the Fisker Ocean or even check one out. My plan was just originally to just show you the car, but Fisker was cool enough, Heinrich, huge thanks. He said, take it for a drive. So it's going to be a quick one, not a full in-depth review, but I thought I'd take you along for my first experience driving the Fisker Ocean. You join us here at CES 2023, just outside the convention center, and there's a little private gathering of two Fisker Oceans here, and I think I'm like one of the people they're letting drive this thing. So I just met our co-driver. I was like, can we send it? And he's like, yes. So really looking forward to driving this thing. We know, of course, Magna is doing final assembly, and I'm sure there's a ton of Magna components in this car as well. So I have full confidence in that it's going to be built really well, but I'm also cautiously optimistic about demand pricing strategy. There's a whole bunch to get into. So this is really, again, my first experience. We'll have reviews coming later. So why don't you just join me? I'm super excited. We're going in a version that's a prototype, but it's pretty much the Fisker Ocean One, which is the top spec, $68,000 version, dual motor, hyper range, 350-mile range. I'm not sure if that's EPA. I imagine it is. And built in Graz, Austria. Let's go send the Fisker Ocean. A huge thanks to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. I love that they are working with us on this because I'm a huge fan of their game. For example, we're here charging up the Leaf, so we gotta keep ourselves occupied while we're here at the charger. That means breaking open Raid Shadow Legends. My favorite champion is by far Gaelic. His skills are the best, and I love his Hellraiser feature because it attacks all enemies. If that's not enough, Raid's running a 12-day special holiday event for new players. All you have to do is download the game, copy your player ID to win some amazing in-game and real-life prizes, including Amazon gift cards worth up to $1,000. Raid's released a brand new champion, legendary Ronda Rousey, who you can get for free by playing Raid for 7 days between now and February 20th. So guys, for the best way to pass the time while charging, make sure to click the link in our description. You can download Raid Shadow Legends for free on Android or iPhone. You can actually earn a few extra things, silver, and a bunch of other stuff as well. Click the link in the description below. You'll get a whole bunch of bonuses by using it when you download the app for free today. Guys, I really apologize for the super unprofessional job. You guys know me. I'm always the nerd one, giving you every detail about every car. I research the hell out of them, talk to engineers before I review them, but this opportunity came out of left field, so you have to forgive me for referencing some of my notes here, but I just want to tell you a little bit about the car from their product highlight page. Then we're going to go drive it. Of course, at the end, I'll give you my final thoughts. We're also going to explore some of the UI with their head of user experience, which is super neat. So we are basically driving the Fisker Ocean One. It's a pre-production prototype unit. It's not, a production-ready car. So there's a lot of interesting things going on, little warning lights here and there, typical stuff for prototypes. We drive prototypes a lot, and typically I don't review cars until start of production or very close to start of production. And that's where we kind of are with this. So I have to apologize for waiting so long to review Fisker, but I wanted to make sure that everything was going to go over well, that, the cars were actually going to make it. And it seems like super positive. Everyone's pumped up here about it. And so very excited. So Fisker Ocean One, the one we're driving is the Hyper Range battery pack. That gives you 350 miles, I believe, of EPA-ish range. It's a dual motor system, I believe 2 permanent magnet motor with a disconnect on the rear. My impression is I wish they did a disconnect on the front. It's very much a front-wheel drive car. Of course, in the single motor, it's front motor. I wish it was rear biased as the primary axle. In the case of this vehicle, primary axle is front, secondary is rear. Amazing how quiet those electric motors are. I don't know if I can tell you who makes the electric motors, but I think you can guess. I think that's more than I should say anyway, but you can guess. Okay, they have a boost mode, which tells me that they did not tune for continuous power. They tuned for a spark here and there. 3 modes, Earth, Fun, and Hyper. Earth mode definitely seems to run front wheel drive. Fun mode will, I assume, do a disconnect reconnect strategy based off of power, and Hyper seemed to drive it all together. We're going to drive it in a second. I actually just got out of driving it, but wanted to give you the specs. There's something called Smart Traction launching later on. Launch Edition also comes with 22-inch wheels, whole bunch of badging, this nice Malibu blue interior. The interior was really nice on that car. The roof is a standout feature. It goes so far back, really quite a bit of space.
And the back seat is very comfortable.
Back seat's very comfortable. There's also the some pilot package, which is a 360-degree surround view situation, blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, and all the driver assistance you would expect. Some driver assistance isn't coming until mid-2023, but that actually makes sense because that's only a few months away. So no major issue there, I would say. It has a 17.1-inch touchscreen that flips. I'll show you that here in a little bit as well. Front and rear heated seats. It's got a key fob with California mode, which seems kind of interesting. And yeah, basically an app and everything like that. So it's 69 grand, 68,999 starting price. Final assemblies in Graz, Austria. Will not qualify for the tax credit because of that. And but there'll be less expensive single motor versions coming as well. So just so you understand it, that's what the car is for specs wise. It's not all the nerdy details. I don't know the battery pack capacity. I wish I had more. If you guys know more, please comment. And then I promise when I do the full first drive review, you're gonna get the full nerd fest that you would expect. Sounds like they're just doing donuts behind me. Let's go drive it. You join us inside the Fisker Ocean now. This is sort of the one trim. It's kind of got all the good stuff in there, of course. And just take a look at the roof on the inside. Just a really cool, expansive feeling. And, you know, so 2 permanent magnet motors in this one, rear clutch disconnect as well. We've driven actually a little bit of an adapted chassis of this car. So you have to take a look at that previous video. I'll leave that in the link below. But this is the first few inches in the Fisker. So obviously very traction limited, very front wheel bias feeling actually is what it feels like to me. Do you know if it has more power on the front than the rear?
I do not know.
Okay, yeah. Well, we'll get all the nerdy details for the full review, but yeah. So good ESPs, pretty quick at cutting in, of course, but you know, you can feel it's tuned to be pretty soft, which was my concern. I was worried it was going to be a little bit too stiff, but thankfully it's not. Really quiet powertrain is nice.
Show you the turning radius.
Yeah, that'd be awesome to see. Yeah. You can hear some cooling pumps already kicking on, so it must be doing some pre-cooling based off drivetrain driving logic. Yeah, pretty good turning radius. It feels really nicely put together, really tight.
Did a lot of work on NVH to minimize the noise inside the vehicle. And for a vehicle with such large wheels, it handles superbly.
Yeah.
You really feel planted while you're driving. The steering is very tight, very much like a sports car. So we really concentrated on making the driving experience fun.
And what kind of drive modes do you have in this thing?
We have, right now we are in Hyper.
Mm-hmm.
If we toggle through, we have Earth.
So you do that with this button on the wheel right over here.
Correct.
Okay, nice. So Earth is like range mode, more or less?
Exactly.
Okay.
And fun.
Okay.
Fun is like a sport mode.
Okay. Oh, really? Is Hyper more than fun, though?
Yes.
So you just leave it in Hyper all the time?
I leave it.
Okay. Do you know if it disconnects the rear axle when you're in Hyper?
Unfortunately, I don't know too much about the
no worries.
chassis system.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, just really quiet drivetrain. It's very impressive.
Go ahead and take over the helm.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm really looking forward to having a go. The space in the car is nice. Pretty high dashboard. It gives you a feeling that you're sitting sort of in the car. Almost a little bit Evoque-ish is what's coming back to mind, but love the touchscreen here. The controls are nice over here as well. Just feels better than I expected, actually.
We actually had a gentleman ride in the vehicle earlier today that was 6'7", and with the range that we have to lower the seats and also the leg room in the vehicle, he sat extremely comfortably with somebody behind him and still had room in front of his knees.
Wow, that's pretty encouraging. That's awesome. Got your backup camera in the mirror over here.
Sure, and we can switch to a normal mirror if we'd like.
Right. Oh, okay, so it's not even just backup camera. That's just the digital.
Yeah, there's a backup camera that will be on the display here.
Right.
This is not.
It's early.
Yeah, exactly. It's not final.
Days. Well, let's do a little bit of a switch.
Sure.
And yeah. Yeah, no, but how do you turn traction control off?
Are you aware of that, Todd?
Okay, we don't
we're
actually.
not-
I'm
we're
not
not-
going to
we're
slide
not
your car
chassis
around. No,
guys.
no, I'm just,
Yeah.
just trying to freak you out. It's okay. So, is there like a one pedal driving option in this at all?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Okay. So first thing I'm noticing is we have auto hold, so no creep on this car, which is really great. Brake pedal super squishy, but I imagine you boiled the fluid ripping it around,
Most likely,
probably.
yeah.
So I don't know if that's production representative, but the brake pedal is just, it works, but it's very soft.
Yeah.
And then of course
We've been using the brakes heavily over the last 2 or 3 days.
yes,
Yeah.
I can imagine. So in earth mode, what I want to feel is, okay, so you get some front end going, of course. And you can feel regen blending on the brake pedal, which is kind of interesting. So it'll initially go regen, then blend to friction. Very nice steering wheel, actually. I'm not normally a flat bottom wheel guy, but I like it. It's kind of a firm wheel. I hate squishy wheels, so I really, really think this is great. I'm just trying to see if we can feel, basically in earth mode, it's just front wheel drive.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So the rear axle's fully disconnected in earth mode. If I go into fun, let's just skip that and go to hyper since we don't have too much time. Steering instantly gets very heavy. I would argue a bit too heavy. I would actually turn that down a little bit in hyper mode. And then now we have obviously a lot of help from the rear axle going through, which is great. We go on the brakes. So it's an e-booster. You can feel ABS through the brake pedal. Really nice feeling there, of course. If we just start working it through the cones, and again, you just tell me if you feel like we're going a little bit too quickly, but nice loose surface here. We can lift off mid-quarter, get the front end. And yeah, you know, ESC is certainly on. You drove it more aggressively than I'm going to drive your prototype.
Sure.
But it's very, very tight in the corners, of course, which is great. And as you would expect for this car, it's got to be a little bit sporty. It's got to be a little bit quick, but I'm feeling a lot of push, of course, even off throttle. There's not much wanting to rotate, and that's all for safety. This is not meant to be a race car or a sports car. You need the general user to be able to handle it, you know, in sort of any condition. So it's tuned for safety. Not going to be the Canyon Carver on the weekends, though, but that's all to be expected. It's got to be a general cruiser. And if I just back it down really quick, if we're in hyper, earth, and then we go over to fun, and I have this little indication. We're at 49% state of charge, by the way, so we're traction limited on the power, so we don't even get a sense of how quick it might be, but 3 point something seconds to 60, right?
Yeah, I don't know the exact figure, but it's
Fun mode steering is so much better if we actually just go through the cones like a normal test loop would be. Really like this. Quite agile considering how heavy it is, but all the weight's nice and low, which is really great. So it does like to change direction if you're quite easy. The cones aren't totally lifted normally, but yeah, nice. Good suspension, good braking even in the corner, so very pleased with that. Brake pedal's soft, but that's on you guys for ripping on it. And there you go. My first few inches driving the Fisker Ocean. Gear stock is nice. If we just rock it really quick, just see if we can feel any motor cogging. Yeah, you do feel it switch going from neutral to reverse, so the motor control could use a little bit of work. I'd be curious to see how that is on the production version, but I'm so happy there's no creep here. Can't really feel any cogging at low speed. It almost feels like a 6-phase motor, which I don't believe it is, but 2 permanent magnet motors, probably on different gear ratios because I'm not hearing weird harmonics. And there you go. That's the first few inches in the Fisker Ocean. I can't thank you guys enough for letting me just play around with it a little bit.
Yeah,
that was
thanks
really,
for
really
taking the ride.
awesome.
Pleasure to have you.
Thank you. And it's toasty in here.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really aggressive wheel poke going on down here. You can see some interesting aero going on with the swirls all over the car. You can see the roof pictures right here. I believe they're actually photovoltaic cells on the roof as well. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, very cool.
Bi-directional.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, really interesting sculpting here. I like how this piece down here is actually just plastic. That way you're not chewing up your paint all the time. It's a really good looking car. Really good looking car. We'll have to take a look in the charge port here in a second. Taking a look at the charge port here, you can see just your typical CCS connection. A little light in here. Looks interesting. Might be early days, but this isn't fully formed. Oh no, actually it is. You can see that little ridge because this has a little ridge. Ah, interesting. That looks pretty nice for sure. Not the best closing feeling on that one. Actually isn't isn't latching. There we go. So got to have pressure evenly applied for it to close. That might just be an early car situation. Looking good, looking good. You guys probably know a lot more about the space size, what's under the hood than I do. This is really my first drive in the Ocean. Hey, Todd, how's it going, sir?
Great, great.
So you're in charge of software on this thing.
I'm in charge of user experience.
User experience.
So I have a team of designers that do UX, interaction, UI, 3D, audio, everything. And so this is the working and collaborating with the software development team. We work together in a human-centered process, and putting the overall experience together.
So I guess first initial question is, why did you choose to go vertical? You also have the binnacle in front of the driver over here. What created this ethos for the layout?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first had started concepting with Henrik, they had a vertical screen in the initial concept for the Ocean. And I liked it because when you start talking about situational awareness and driver safety and just eyes on the road, with a portrait-based screen, everything is within the kinetic arc of the arm. So when you're in the driver's seat, you should be able to touch all four corners with relative ease and a low cognitive load.
Okay.
With that as well, we've also built the button bar, with a touch strip, as well as kind of core commonly used features. So driver side temperature control, passenger side temperature control. It can be linked together. Fan speed, front defrost, rear defrost, and then volume and mute. The touch strip will evolve, and you'll be able to just tap on things and slide them as well if you want to use more than just the travel buttons.
Okay.
We also have a home button here at the bottom. We really loved the idea of when you had the old iPhones or the old Android phones that had a home button, even if it was in your pocket or you could just hold it in your hand, you always knew you could just simply, without having to look at it, without having to think about it, take you back to that home experience.
Yeah.
We thought that actually is more applicable for when you're in a car, no matter how many levels deep in your experience that you're going. There's a simple way we have two things you can always do. You can always get to navigation, and you can always get to this home experience. Currently, we have a virtual view at the top. This one is non-functional right now on this vehicle. But then we have a navigation, we have a music experience, temperature and heat seating, and then just a glanceable view of range factors. We believe that in many other vehicles, starting from hybrids and moving into electric, the traditional graph, for the critical mass of people that will be moving from ICE vehicles to EVs, the graph might be one of the most useless screens they will think of in their vehicle. One, because it's not easy to understand, and two, they're going to be afraid of it. So we started looking at how we can simplify things like understanding how much energy you're using in ways that anyone can understand. And so we've applied many of these kind of different ways of looking at features in that kind of lens, and in more of an approachable way than just keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah.
So this is a 16:9 ratio screen.
Okay.
By design. So when you're driving, it's in portrait. When you're in a parked experience, you'll be able to rotate the screen. It's about a 2.5 second hold of the home button, and the screen will rotate and it'll reorientate and take you to that same home experience.
That's so cool.
Because you're charging, and this is in dark mode right now, so it's not the brightest. I can change that. But you can continue to plan your route. You can, like I personally, when I go on a long journey, I like to hop between chargers so I can maximize charging quickly and then continue my trip.
And how fast does this vehicle charge peak kilowatt? Have you seen?
I don't have that number.
Okay. But have you road tripped it yet?
I haven't no, I haven't had the
Okay,
chance
yeah.
to yet. I've been dying to.
Yeah, it doesn't have route planning built into the nav though.
It does, it does. And
Okay.
so we've that is exactly, and you know, it's like one of the misconceptions of everybody wants to use their phone as their, like, they want the Android Auto, they want the CarPlay, but what people don't seem to understand on the social media threads is that actually, no matter what, we have to build a really great native experience.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we have to make it so that you can go route planning, because our mapping and navigation has all the CAN signals. We understand the state of your battery. We understand the state that you're doing with energy.
Yep.
And really, it will be the best experience that you can have in this vehicle.
Yeah.
If for music and things like that, the same experiences that people want out of their phones, we have things. Oh, this is already on Spotify, but we have Spotify. We have a number of of music streaming experiences, as well as video and games. But it's the real APK, or the real version of Spotify, and so
Could
even
we just mute it actually?
oh yeah, sorry.
Thanks.
People in the back seat could even, if they can connect to Spotify, they can control it from the back seat.
Wow, that's
without
cool.
even to be connected through Bluetooth.
And just a quick question back to the route planning topic on the navigation. I know a lot of our audience are EV road trippers. They're going to use their Fisker Oceans. We have a lot of reservation holders watching our videos. How is the route planning going to adapt with the car? Are you going to try and get people there at low state of charge, get the fastest charging possible, and then get out and get to the next? Who's helping you tune all this?
So we have a whole charging team that is working on that experience, working between charging and our battery and powertrain team. I don't have the answers for you today.
Yeah, no worries.
It's not my
No, of
area
course.
focus,
Yeah.
but yes, they're working on how to maximize that for the vehicle, as well with the charging partners here in North America, and with different charging partners in Europe.
And have you announced the partners that you're going to work with yet?
That one I do not know.
Okay, let's not say anything then.
They're giving me the wrap up.
Okay,
But yeah,
great.
this is a quick, basic overview.
Yeah, nice. It looks really cool. Could you, love that thing moves. Really cool idea there. Nice work.
And it's only going to continue to get better.
Awesome. Really cool. Well, thanks again. And just loving the view from here in the back seat, even in the center seat here. Plenty of headroom for me. There is this bar, but that seems to be no issue at all. If I move over here to the right seat, there's USB-C ports in the center. There's also rear air vents in the center, and plenty of room. Great space. Actually, a lot more space than you would think. So that's the inside of the Fisker Ocean. Final thoughts on the Fisker Ocean. First of all, not a performance vehicle. I thought it was properly powered. To me, it didn't feel, I mean, I'm spoiled. I drive everything. It's quick, but it didn't feel like, whoa, we're ripping it. We're also very much traction limited on this surface here. So, very rocky. I wish they had like a real hardcore surface so we could actually maximize the car. The one benefit of having a loose surface is we could start to feel how the car moves around. And it's very front wheel drive biased no matter what we did. I had it in the full hyper mode, even throttling coming out of corners, it just pushes. So it's no fun here in terms of like sliding the car around, in my impression. I wish the chassis would oversteer a little bit more stuff, but underneath it's a very much I believe an adapted version of that Arc Fox that we drove on this channel as well. And in that was a pretty soft car and similar driving characteristics. So I kind of get that same feeling. It was my worry that it wasn't going to be fun. It's not that fun. As far as how normal people will drive the car, what a comfortable cruiser. The cabin's a bit small compared to like ID4 is a very open feeling cabin, but I would say you have to forgive some of the noise going on here. Just stand a little bit closer if you don't mind. It's a little bit smaller than ID4 on the inside feeling, but in terms of cruising, suspension's pretty nice. Everything felt good. I like the steering wheel. It's a little bit funky. I don't know if it would annoy me over time because it's got these weird indentations in the wheel and everything. It's a seating with freeform from Magna technology on the inside. I only know that because I could see the divots without stitching and stuff, and it's like, well, it's very obvious that that's Magna technology in there. So I'm actually really pleased. I know it's going to be built really well. wish they can tune it through software, which they probably can, to give it a little bit more fun oversteering character. Let the tail hang out a little bit. Let's have some fun in this thing. And other than that, though, as an electric SUV, for what most people are driving electric SUVs for, it's going to be very competent, very quiet, very, very, very quiet. From a motor standpoint, dead silent, almost EQS levels of silence. Very impressive drivetrain tuning there. And no motor cogging. I mean, you can tell the drivetrain team did an amazing job, not to tune it for performance, but to tune it for everyday driving, which is how they'll be used. So there you go, the Fisker Ocean, my first experience. I gathered as much as I could in the 2 minutes that I drove the car. Typically, I wouldn't make a video like this, but this is something you guys have been asking for a long time. So thanks so much for watching another Out of Spec Reviews video, and we'll see you in another one soon. Bye-bye.